Hello everyone and welcome to One Teacher, One Scientist chat room. Today, our special guest is a renowned yoga practitioner, a teacher, an educationist, a researcher and an author. I welcome Anita Dua today to our One Teacher, One Scientist chat room. Anita ji is a disciple of the renowned Padma Bhushan B.K.S Iyenger and has authored a very special book on integrating classical dances and yoga with the renowned Shobna Narayan ji. You know how yoga can be such an integral part of child development, and many a times it is also a very neglected part of when children are growing up. So we get an insight from Anita Dua ji today on how schools can actually integrate yoga. Welcome, Anita Dua ji.
Vaishali, thank you so much for having me over for this chat show. It's indeed a pleasure because both are my favorite subjects, children and yoga. But I would like to begin by talking about the current situation that we are in, all of us are in. And I'm reminded of this proverb which says, just when the caterpillar thought the world was ending, it's a proverb, a very famous one, it turned into a beautiful butterfly.
Correct.
So we are seeking the same transformation now as we face the uncertainty and the stressful times of this pandemic, coronavirus. So what, according to me, I feel what yoga does, it also equips us to face that uncertainty. Not a day goes by when we don't hear on the TV channels the renowned doctors talking about the importance of yoga and the breathing during this crisis, health crisis. So not only does it increases our immunity, this is for you and me and the kids as well, it also builds up our immunity and increased levels of oxygen, which are so essential to face what we are facing today. So that is how important yoga is in today's day and age. So the need for yoga has never been greater. Now, how important it is to be more specific to children. If we teach our children a simple yogic practice, simple yogic principle, and instill these values, the yogic values, right from the beginning, we are onto this path of transformation. As Dalai Lama says, if every child in the world is taught meditation/yoga, we would eliminate violence in one generation.
Absolutely.
What do we see around you? What do we see? We see so much of violence. I mean, it's unheard of what is happening to our young girls today. Now, why is it happening? Is yoga the answer? In a way, yes, it is, because it instills that sense of value and balance in you, which will automatically modify your thinking in such a way that you are not really led to a wrong path. It's a very, very gradual, subtle transformation, but believe me, it happens in every and each individual who takes up this practice. It doesn't matter at what age. You can be a child, you can be older, you can be even 60, 70 or whatever it is. So that's how important yoga is. But I would like to elaborate before we go on to the school curriculum as to how it can be integrated in the school curriculum, because that would be according to gradation. I would like to talk a little about yoga. So here, I presume when we're talking about yoga, we are actually talking about yoga asanas. Yeah, people tend to say yoga, but without yoga is a very wide term. It's a term which actually donates or signifies eightfold path of yoga.
Right. That's interesting.
Not just the physical. That's the third aspect. So I will briefly take you through these 8 levels of yoga, which apply to each and every task or the job that we do. Wow. It could be taking work, it could be cooking, it could be drinking water like this. It could be anything. It could be anything that you're involved in. Yoga is a connection.
Right.
So let's talk about the eightfold path. The first one, of course, is niyama, yama, and niyama. Yama are the ethical principles which are so important to inculcate in a child.
Right.
So when we say teaching yoga, it also means teaching them ethics. That's the first and the foremost principle on which the yoga practice is built up. You need to be ethical, you need to be honest, you need to be absolutely have those high moral standards. Discipline will come later. You have to have faith, you have to be a contented human being. That is how you will take to yoga. If you're too restless, you will probably go to a gym. You'll probably go for jogging. You're not going to take to yoga unless you're a contented being to begin with, because it's a rather slow discipline. So it has to suit you temperamentally. And then you come to discipline, which is niyama. So discipline, as we know, being a teacher, you're a teacher, I'm a teacher also, I was, how important discipline is in everything that we do. To have that sense of discipline, to be able to achieve anything, to be regular with it, and to not give up that practice and keep on going at it till you achieve perfection. But like Iyengar used to say, don't give up your practice even if the perfection eludes you.
Right. I mean, listening to this, I feel that all this is needed by a child, even in any academic field.
Exactly.
It kind of builds, probably. I mean, listening to what you're saying, I think yoga can be such a powerful tool to build skills in children.
People tend to think it's just physical asana. It's not. It's so much more than just the physical asanas. So after yama, niyama, we come to the physical asanas, to the physical postures, and that's what when people say yoga, they mean the physical postures or the asanas. Now these asanas are very, very scientific exercises. Unless you are mentally and physically healthy, you cannot accomplish any task whatsoever, howsoever easy or difficult it is. So the asanas equip us with the mental health, with the physical health. After having gone through a regular practice with great discipline, you get a mental agility, a physical agility, and then you go to the next stage. But for the children, only these 3 stages in yoga are essential. Yoga happens when you have that sense of concentration, when you and the task becomes one. You are so committed and involved in doing what you're doing that it becomes a sheer enjoyment, whether you're painting or you're studying, the sense of fulfillment that comes through it, because there is that connection you made with the task. So,
my God, it would be so magical for a child.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to imagine if children were actually doing this on a daily basis, like a practice which, they can begin as like we all have morning assemblies in school. So if children were actually doing some kind of a yogic practice in school, like on a daily basis, my God, it can really elevate their success as such in the task that they are doing in school.
I absolutely agree with you, Vaishali. It gives you such a sense of happiness and well-being and confidence and balance.
Right.
It puts you on a right track, and which is what we want for our kids. And they're able to concentrate and do. If you have a joyful, peaceful mind, you're able to do much better. You're able to explore your potential and unfold all that you're capable of. Now, coming back to the children and the school curriculum, there cannot be one structured system of yoga for all the children. Okay. It has to be graded. It has to be very simple according to the age groups. For example, a child who's 5 years to 8 years, his skeletal system is still growing. His muscles are not really developed.
Right.
So till the age of 8 or 5 to 8, it has to be more playful. Let them grow up naturally. It's not a class. They can do various asanas which are very appealing to them, with nicely told stories which I'll come to later. But from 8 to 12 years of age group, a child is agile but not fragile. So perhaps that's the age group in school from 8 to 12 that you could have a more structured way of yoga, but yet not very sophisticated or advanced asanas still, because they still grow. The skeletal system is still growing. So what is the crucial age group is from 12 to 18.
Right.
That's when the child really needs to stabilize, because they're going through emotional, physical growth and the turmoil and the hormonal imbalance and all those problems of puberty, adolescence which come in. So that's the age group when it is most needed in a school, and it can be introduced in a very structured way as a part of syllabus, because they can even do the advanced asanas like Sarvang and Shirshasana, inversions, forward bends, backward bends. Nothing is taboo. It will not be harmful to them at all. But like I mentioned earlier, the smaller ones, they need to be a little more playful. You cannot really impose on them. And also a good way of using is doing the systematic counting and grading them according to the age group, according to the inclination and the capacities.
In other countries, people are more oriented towards looking after their health, looking after their physical bodies. Somehow I find that missing in our country. Could it be because we were not exposed to it right from the beginning? Because children don't understand the value of looking after your body, your physical self. Maybe, if we build it in our structured teaching right from the beginning, that 10 minutes we are just going to be sitting with ourselves, or it is just 10 minutes of a breathing exercise just before we start our day, so that the focus, the concentration, everything, the child's focus sort of comes and gets aligned in a path. Because children today are so restless. I see how many children are today sitting and observing nature. How many children are actually sitting peacefully with themselves? Today's child needs gadgets all the time. Today's child needs to do something all the time. So somewhere I was wondering if, a yogic practice could begin right from the beginning. Maybe we cannot do very hardcore asanas with these small children, but maybe just keeping aside like a 5 to 10 minutes in the beginning of the day, every day in school, would perhaps be a very good starting point. What do you say?
No, I absolutely agree with what you're saying, Vaishali. It's true not only for children, it's true of us also. And especially now that we have this kind of a lockdown and children are sort of doing these online classes, the life has become very, very sedentary. And I do notice people, it's not only children, it's us and as well as children who have a lot of problems which one hadn't heard of in terms of their physical postures, in terms of leading that very sedentary lifestyle, sitting in front of your screens for hours together. They have problems with their necks, they have problems with their postures, it's not straight. So it's an abnormal time that we're going through. But even in normal times, I tend to agree with you that we are by nature, we tend to be not so much of outdoor people like people tend to be in the Western countries. We tend to be a little laid back in terms of a physical exercise or the physical disciplines. But let me tell you, those who once are inducted into this discipline will never give it up, because it is such an invaluable health parameter that contributes to you. But the thing is, you have to persist and do it for a certain length of time. So coming back to the children, introducing it, and they love it. It's not only in schools here in India. I've seen schools in Singapore. They have a class called self-awareness, where they are taught mindfulness. And of course, like you said, when you have these children in the age of 5 to 8, you cannot possibly sort of impose them or teach them the asanas that we have, the conventional ones that we all do. But you can certainly have a certain amount of breathing exercises and learning to observe, learning to go within, and few simple stretches. Because what happens with the stretches that you start with, it kind of gives you increased oxygen and it makes you more alive. Now, what happens when you lack oxygen? Most of the children, most of us start yawning because you need oxygen. So you need to take in oxygen more, so you yawn.
Correct.
So what does that prove? That obviously you are lethargic, you are lazy. So therefore, to begin a day with certain amount of yoga or certain amount of breathing exercises, whether they're kids or the adult, is a very good way to begin your day and to ensure lifelong health. And the kids are very, very receptive, they're very agile, and they have that sense of curiosity. And I must tell you, as you go along in the yogic practice, there's so many interesting stories. How did yoga come about? Which will capture the imagination of children. They don't like to be static, they like movement.
Correct.
Have the movement, and then in between there are these lovely stories like how did yoga begin? With Lord Shiva. So each time Shiva took a form, a yoga asana was born. So 84 lakhs thousand junis like they have. So those many asanas are there. But of course we do limited asanas. You see a baby, a 4-month-old baby, this is the first thing he does.
Yeah.
So it's all nature. It's very natural to do yoga. There's nothing which is man-made. It's nature. Our body is supposed to turn like this. So we're not going against the nature, we're going with the principles of nature and therefore ensuring lifelong health. Then you do your downward looking pose, Adho Mukha Shavasana, upward looking pose. Children do this automatically without being told that this is the asana you're doing. It's fun for them. So along breathing, doing these few of these asanas, which children can do, even less than 5 years they can do.
Absolutely. That's what I was thinking, If we integrate this with mainstream curriculum as well, like it would be so nice for them to, start off with this connection and then they can keep building it as a practice.
And you can't imagine, Vaishali, the sense of fulfillment and happiness that you feel after having done these few stretches. You are just totally a balanced human being or a balanced child. So why would you not unfold your potential and be joyful? So they say you stretch beyond your limits for anything. Yoga teaches that it gives you willpower to stretch beyond your limits. And children do that without realizing. We have to make an effort. Children don't make an effort. It comes to them naturally.
So absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to say was that yoga per se is as a subject can be done. But I find the yogic asana or the yogic practices are there. They're part and parcel of every vocation. For example, those who are playing cricket, you see them doing Paschimottanasana. You see them doing Halasana and Sarvandasana on the fields. So before taking any sports, that's the time to bring in few asanas as a warm-up before playing cricket, anything, or dancing. You have ballet outside, you have Bharatanatyam here. So before you begin your vocation, whether it's a dance or it's drama or it's sports, it's very good to have few of these yogic asanas because you get that concentration. The concentration which Dronacharya talks about when Arjuna, and when he's teaching them archery, he's a guru to Kauravas and Pandavas, and he's teaching them archery with bow and arrow, and there's a bird on the tree, and he says, now that's your target, you have to shoot the bird in his eye. So he asks Kauravas, what do you see? So the Kaurava says, we see sky, we see leaves. Okay, go ahead. No. Then when Arjuna's turn comes, he asks Arjuna, what do you see? He says, I only see the right side of the bird and his eye. I see only his eye. And sure enough, he shot and he got the eye. Yeah. That's the kind of concentration that you aim at, and that's the kind of concentration that you actually acquire by doing yoga over a period of time. And not to talk about the health benefits. You don't need any medicines. You're fit for life. I can guarantee you 200%. I've been doing it for our last 35 years. No proceeds, no medicines, no nothing. So that just happens automatically. Not that you take up yoga because of all that, but those are the added benefits that you don't even realize over a period of time. The body is undergoing those changes automatically, And it's just that after 3-4 months, you realize that this is what has happened. So when you see a person walking on the road, you can judge the person has some problem with his shoulder, his neck, because he will cramp.
Correct. Yeah.
You're trying to hide something, or something is paining. There is it's not open, it's locked up.
Correct.
So it reflects in your walk. And this is something if you follow right from the beginning, well, you're in for a healthy lifestyle, you're in for a peaceful, physically, mentally healthy life, and that is the need of the 21st century, really, to have a society of children who will carry the burden of our country in a very peaceful, calibrated manner, and not a violent society. One doesn't want that at all.
Absolutely. So what I can gather from our chat is that it is so vital for children to grow up with some sort of a practice, whether it is just the mindfulness part or it is yoga as a whole. So, you wrote a very interesting book. I've been intrigued about that, Illuminating Indian Dances with Yoga.
That's right.
Interdisciplinary learning and teaching like this is actually something that is the need of the hour. And yoga pretty much can, I was going through a little bit about the book, and I feel that yoga can actually get integrated into any discipline.
It is part and parcel of everything that we do.
Yeah.
If we don't realize, it happens to us accidentally.
Yeah.
Yoga is not just the physical asanas. That's a very, very important aspect because we need to be healthy physically. But then there are other aspects which I outline. And for any task to be accomplished, it's very important to have that yoga. It's important to have that connection. And for the child, once it's introduced in the early tender age, it stays. It stays because it is something you feel and it's something you live out and you enjoy.
Right.
You enjoy it.
And somewhere I think
tell them the right way.
Right.
Make it a little more interesting. Tell them stories from our mythology. It's full of stories. How it is good to be truthful, Harishchandra stories, and all these values, and few of these asanas, which are practiced outdoor as well as indoor. It can be a very interesting subject. It's just not the stretches, it's also philosophy behind it that the children readily grasp and enjoy. They feel very proud when you do your standing or the balancing asanas. It gives you a sense of happiness and sense of balance.
Thank you so much, Anita ji, for such beautiful insights that we are all looking forward to in our schools, in the way children are growing up, and that would help the society. I just hope we can bring about a new India very soon.